Go.
Training ground. You asked for it, you get it. Ryu and I will rip your photos into smithereens. Hold on to your headphones. Here comes the pain.
It's been a very, very long. It was 2 months. It was quite
I
long,
don't
huh?
know.
Yeah, it's been.
Yeah.
We had some like technical difficulties. We were using Google Hangout, and it decided to like not work for us anymore. So we're using another application now, and we've checked, and it should all work out. Hopefully, everything's going to be okay. And here is a pre-summer edition of Training Ground. So let's get to it. This is by Toin, and this is a picture of a track and field person. Matt Cohen, what do you think?
It's a good moment, but the composition is just bad.
Yeah.
I think that he should be beyond this. You have to be prepared for this, right? So you're shooting, and you know that whoever is going to win is going to celebrate, have a better plan than just this, right? It's just there's wasted space. The guys behind aren't really helping. There's not really any way that you can crop this any better. It's just a composition problem. That's really all there is to it. I mean, you could, maybe if it was part of something bigger about this player or something, you could just crop it to his head. But that picture without any kind of context isn't going to be, without knowing who he is not going to be a big deal. It's not enough of a celebration to be a big deal, and none of it is enough to overcome the composition problems.
And yeah, I agree. Like there has to be a better plan for it, and I think you want a bit more muscle. You want something a bit more than just this. Just like you point to the camera at the guy and you just shot him. That's it without a plan.
Like for example, let's just look at where his bib number cuts off, right? It wouldn't matter if that was an eighth of an inch higher or something, right? The composition is still essentially the same, and at least you took the care to get rid of that. But leaving that in, plus all the space around it, and him being centered like that, just is screaming, this is the best I could do because I didn't have a plan.
Yeah. All right, moving straight on because we got quite a lot. And this is another one of Toyin. It's, I don't know, whatever race this is, and the guy is running. It's fine, but it's not really interesting. Like, it's just, I need to, if you are going to basically take a picture of a person running, you need a plan. Like, you need a really, really good plan for the picture to stand out. Because they are running in a predictable manner. We're not talking football, we're not talking basketball, we're not talking these sports that they move in three-dimensional, direction. They don't jump, they don't roll, they don't do anything, they just run in straight stop. Which means that you need to really be thinking a bit more ahead of yourself and telling yourself, okay, what can I do to actually make this picture look good? Like what Matt alluded to in the first one, he actually did say it, that you need a plan. And yeah, sure, like plans just don't work all the time, but you need to get more of a basic plan. Like you have to really start rethinking to yourself, this race is coming. They're gonna go around the track, say 800 meters twice. So I've got two chances, because I don't think you can actually move that much, to do a certain thing. Okay, what am I gonna do? And you need to come up with a really interesting plan, not just like, oh, the guy's coming down on the track and we're just gonna shoot him, making a face, and that's it. It's very boring.
Does it say what distance this is? Because this looks like a long distance, not a short distance.
No, so you got a lot more chances to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, these are distance runners. This is going to be 3,000 or something at the minimum. So you're going to have, I don't know how many laps that is, but you're going to have 7, 8 chances or something like that to get pictures of them. So I don't know. This to me, there's a lot of wasted space on the right edge. And what I would have done is waited just a little bit more to get them spread out a little bit. Like this, there's something here, right? If you had, and maybe you could crop into it, but it would probably be better if you just did it right the first time, but have them kind of echoing back through the picture, and they're getting more out of focus and they're getting more towards the left. And it's giving you a sense of, you have a clean picture of the guy in the front. He's the one that's in focus, and then everybody's chasing him, and the focus is doing a lot of the work for you. All of that is fine. But again, this is sloppy because you're not using the whole frame, but you're still leaving the whole frame in there. And the part that you're not using isn't adding to the picture even by accident. So I think that you need to be a little bit more careful. Again, this is not my advice, but it's advice that I learned at a workshop from a guy who won a Pulitzer. So you should probably take it, start at the edges, and then work your way back into the middle of the frame. Get the edges right, get the outside, get the details, figure out where things are cutting off, and is there an awkward cutoff like the picture before where you could still see the bib number, or is there an awkward cutoff here where you have just empty space that's not really helping you? Start there and then figure out, okay, how can I arrange these things in the frame now that I have the edges right? And if you have a chance, like, an 800, you're going to get 2 chances, and a 1500, you're going to get, 4 chances or whatever. And then 3000, you get 8 chances. Figure it out and do something different and plan for, okay, these people are going to be fresh at the beginning and they're going to be more tightly bunched up. And then as the race goes on, maybe 1 or 2 of them will be, pull away, and then you can do something in the chasing of the guy in the lead, or if he's just so far away and he's coasting, then you can tell that story. But you really need to have more of a plan. This is not go out and camp on the side and make sure you get a good spot and get everything in focus. That's just not going to be enough. And this is 3,000, so that's 8 times, I think.
Yeah. No, it's like 7.5. It's 4.
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of chances.
So Simon makes a bit of a comeback. He is back with a badminton picture. I don't know. Like, I'm okay with it. I don't particularly think it's very exciting by all means. Like this synchronicity and doubles thing when it's like, oh, it's ping pong or badminton or tennis. Probably like you probably see like a bit more in badminton than tennis or ping pong. You need to kind of like come up with a like it's not like a broken record now, like not a plan again, like, and you're matches go on for quite a while, and then you're shooting doubles and you're thinking, okay, like I realized that I shot this particular sport a couple of times, so like I know they do these things quite a lot. I'm gonna actually just get them to do this thing at the same time, and I'm gonna take a picture. So you took this picture, and the shuttlecock is not there, which I don't really care because I take a lot of photos of football without a ball anyway. But I think it also has to be a bit more interesting, like what's really going on in this picture. I look at it, it's like these 2 women winding up. That's it. It's not like they're in this like interesting geometrical position in the frame itself, but that's it. So to me, like this, I understand like what you probably wanted to do, or you kind of wanted to like show, like, yeah, but the only thing I can really see is that they're both in a position to do something similar, and that's it, period. Nothing more interesting.
Yeah, I don't care about not having the shuttlecock in there, but I do care about, again, you're going to have all these chances to do this. So figure out the best angle, figure out the right lens to have so that you can do what you wanted to do. In this one, I think having the racket cut off really, really hurts because it said you were already not having the shuttle in there, and they're not in perfect balance. Like that's what this picture should be, right? They should be perfectly doing exactly the same thing. I don't know. I would probably not go for that. I would probably go for them doing something different, or one of them watching the other one, or the yelling at each other, or thinking the other one has it and they don't, and then realizing that it's going to fall down or something. Those are the moments that you would look for here. Again, the focus is an issue too, because you're kind of in that no man's land. The woman in the front is in focus, and the woman in the back is a little bit out of focus. So what I would say is either get them both exactly in focus, or let it fall off and really have that shallow depth of field. I know it's difficult given the distances sometimes, but you really do have to make a choice there. And I would also say that when you have a background where you can barely see what's going on, that's telling you to just let it go to black. You should be completely underexposing all of this and trying to get as much of that background to black as you can, whether that's in the camera with the shutter speed or
On
in
Photoshop.
post processing. Yeah, you
Yeah.
should really be. That stuff's not helping you in the background. Like again, it's just enough there to know that it's there and that it shouldn't be. Just like she's just enough out of focus to let you know that she's out of focus. So more care there with the exposure and more care with the composition and the waiting for the time.
I've taken these kind of photos and I've deleted every single one of them. When you go through the net, I mean, it's first of all, I don't think it's particularly very pleasing unless there's something really crazy is happening and you get them and like kind of net like kind of adds a bit more to it. I think it's fine, but like when it's just this, like celebration picture that's on the other side of the goal that where you're sitting, and you shoot through the net and you get it, whatever. Like this to me is a complete throwaway. That's it. And this is like even without the net, let's take it out. Not that interesting,
Yeah,
So
I don't know. I don't think it's a complete throwaway. I just think that it's fine. It's not like this could run in a newspaper, right?
yes,
You
it
get a
can.
photo editor who's a little bit edgy, and he's like, okay, well, I have all these clean pictures, but this one they're shooting through the net and it looks different than all the other ones. This could run. There's nothing wrong with it, right? It's
Yeah.
not. I don't think it's a throwaway. It's not one that I would want. It's not one that I would put on Instagram or on my website or something like that. Like I wouldn't want people to know me by this picture. So you want to think about that, but it's fine for what it is. I would say that I don't really think that having as much on the bottom, like their shorts. I think just, maybe just a little bit to know that there's like that black on the bottom and the part of the netting that goes there. And I'll crop it there. And I also don't think that the goal post, I think that in for a penny, in for a pound, like, you already know, that's probably the wrong expression, but you know that it's a goal already because that's the only place that you could be shooting through the netting. You don't need the goalpost there, like screaming, I'm a white goalpost.
Yeah, that's really unnecessary.
Yeah, so I would crop it to their heads, uh, and to the backs of the two players on the outside, and then to just just enough of their shorts to know that it's not the jersey anymore, and call it a day on that one. And know that this is a low percentage shot. You can do it. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really does need to be something magical, and you need to get lucky that the net doesn't steal the focus away. So it's tough.
This is a much better photo. Like
Yeah.
it's, you know, everything's balanced. You know what's happening. And I like it because I always try to actually also always try to choose a picture where they're not hugging, but they're just about to hug. And it's kind of like going to like shooting a wedding shoot, and then
Yeah.
like I try to like get them just about to kiss. And I also like because I think in that way you make the person looking at the picture think of what's going to happen next
Yeah, you
in
need
a
to
real
leave a
way.
little bit of room.
Yeah,
You're leaving room for their imagination to finish the picture. And here it's not done. It's not like they already have their arms all the way around each other, but their chests are already touching. So that's like the end point, or it's close enough to the end point to be the end point. So I think what Ryu was saying was really important. I think that you do need to leave that little bit of space aesthetically and mentally, both for how it looks as a picture and what it's doing to the person who's viewing it, like what it's doing to their head.
yeah. It's a good picture. It's a good picture, Simon. Like I've got no problems with this at all. So, except for the background of what Matt says, you need to kind of black it out. It's a bit too much going on. And you want like I want it to be your eyes to be focused solely on these
Yeah.
two, and not with the other people in the back.
Yeah, and at the very least, you could get rid of like those lights near the hand. The series of four lights; those are cool. The yellow light and the white light up in the top edge, I would get rid of those
Yeah.
because that's more distracting. That's not like helping you at all. But I would bring down the exposure a little bit. Like you have some room there. There's a lot of light. I mean, on their faces, there's a lot of light there. So you could, again, just try to get that right. Even bring it down a little bit from where it is now, and the background goes even darker. It would probably be, a more dramatic picture.
So Bob is gone, and he is doing high jump.
Yeah, this doesn't need to be here at all.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah. So Matt Cohen, when it comes to silhouette,
Yeah, this is like my thing.
yeah,
So I don't know. I have no idea what the technical term is, but I call it getting lost. So when you're doing a silhouette, enough of what you're asking the viewer to look at needs to actually be silhouetted. And silhouetted means you can see the outline of the whole thing. I don't know if that's what it means, but that's what it, that's the idea of it. And that doesn't mean that you need to have the whole body in there, but it means that the important parts need to be completely silhouetted. So it's nice that you got the school name in there. I think that's kind of a cool touch, and it shows that you were thinking a little bit about the composition. But if they're not going to be clearing the bar by more than this, then you need to recompose. Like this is a really good exercise for you because they're gonna do this. Like this is where the high jump pit is going to be set up. So what you want to do is move so that and it's probably like closer and lower so that when they're going over the bar, the background to you from that position that you're in is going to be against the sky and not against those trees. Those trees are just straight up screwing you right now, where they could be helping, because if you were lower and he was higher in the frame and then you had the trees and the bar and he was clearing both of those, that would look really cool. And if you could get the sign from the school in there also, all the better. But the problem is that you cannot have that. It's just muddying the water. Like you're losing his foot completely. Part of his foot is going behind his leg, and then you have the tree that's muddying up, and it's like he has dreadlocks, but then the trees also look like dreadlocks. So it just gets washed out, and you get lost. The silhouette gets lost. This is a good idea. It's carefully composed, but you need to put that last little bit together and figure out where you need to be to get that composition so that he is just completely against the sky.
So Reed goes back to biking because that's what he likes to do. Um, I don't really care for this. It's not very exciting,
Yeah, the thing is, it says gravel and dust. Those are like the first three words in the caption, and I see that there's gravel and I see that there's dust. I don't feel it.
Yeah.
If I wasn't somebody who shot this kind of thing, I wouldn't know what that sounds like, right? So last week I shot and it rained all 4 days that I was shooting. It was absolutely miserable. There's mud everywhere. And when horses go through mud and cowboys get bucked off and land in the mud, there's like a sound. It's like a really specific sound of something going through the water and then hitting mud beneath it, and then everything that comes from that splashing around. It's a really distinctive sound. I'll never forget it, right? You need to figure out a way to convey that sound through the picture. Like if that's what the picture is going to be about, right? It's going to be about gravel and dust. You need to make the person who's looking at the picture feel it, see it, hear it, taste it, all of those kind of things. And you cannot do that with a picture like this. It's just like if the caption hadn't been gravel and dust, who would have thought gravel and dust? Like there's just not enough of it to have that be the first thing in the caption.
It's I mean like it's like there's so many ways to shoot this when you actually see a lot of gravel and dust. Like you probably should get lower, huh? Because I would think that like gravel, like you should protect your lens, first of all. And find a bit of a clever way, like put um I don't know, like clear plastic thing on front of your lens, and then gonna shoot away and get all the gravel and the dust and the rider. Like could be a really cool thing to do, but you just basically shot them like you usually do, and it's not really interesting, you know. So better luck next time. No, yeah. I don't really care for this either. Like I like the pattern on the of the road, but it's like it looks like an iPhone picture, you know?
Yeah, it's not the angle is too pedestrian. It's like the angle that it looks like when you shoot from the stands
Yeah,
down onto a field or something like that. You really have to not get caught in that valley of the middle, right? You just get caught in no man's land. Either you want to be lower and looking up at them, or you want to be right over top looking down on them, maybe a little bit of an angle so that you can see some faces or something. But this is way too pedestrian of an angle for something like this. And I don't know where this trail would have gone. If you had climbed up a hill to get it, then I would have waited for them to get a lot closer to you or picked a different hill where you had a
yeah,
better view of the road. But yeah, I agree. Like the distressed nature of the road, like you could have done something with that. But this is, yeah, it's just, this is a still from a YouTube video. It's not even like, I don't even think the people in the front row are in focus. It doesn't look like it to me.
yeah. I think they all are. It's just like I don't like the motorcycle that much either. Like it's just I would like to have actually seen like if it's like a wrong widen road, like, it would be like a nice pattern for the riders to actually go. Like that would be nice. I mean, it's like one of those classic bicycle photos. But this in itself, like, it doesn't really do anything to me. And Matt said like the angle is a bit too, what would you say, pedestrian? Yeah,
Yeah, it's pedestrian. It's
yeah,
just, you know,
it's
it's
not
what you
extreme
see
enough, you
on,
know?
yeah, it's what you see on TV, or if you go in a stadium and you sit in the, you know, it's an older stadium and you're sitting in the upper deck and you're, you know, you're very high up, but you're also not right over the field. You're way back. There's a lot of distance in between you and the field, and that's what these pictures are going to look like. It just, you know, this kind of picture is not the kind of picture that when people who you know see it, it'll be like, oh my God, you could have died or something like that. Like that's what you're looking for. Either you were really low and they were getting ready to run over you, or you were really high and you could have fallen off of. I'm not suggesting that you go and do things that are dangerous, but the pictures can't look like you were, you know, 3 miles away with a,
Yeah.
you know, with a, you know, a digital zoom or something like that. It just doesn't, it doesn't, there's no impact to any of it.
Scott Thatcher. It's a
Ugh.
shit picture. You should just throw it away. Like
Wow,
I don't know
this
what
is a
it was.
fiasco. Okay, so I don't know, is maybe Scott's new. I don't remember his name or something like that. So let's not run him off quite yet.
But I just want to say it's a shit picture of Scott, just so you know.
It's really bad. And you know, if all you're doing is going to listen to us and go up from here, you'll be fine. If you're under some kind of delusion that this is an acceptable picture because your neighbor liked it on Facebook or something like that, we're not going to be able to help you. So you could probably just stop listening right now. It's very simple choice. We can help you identify better pictures and make better pictures and all of that, or you can go for the instant gratification of people telling you that this is a good picture. There's nobody who knows anything, who's any position to do anything or whatever that would tell you that this is a good picture. It's just not. This is an absolute throwaway. You have, you know, on every single dimension, this picture is bad, and that's fine. You know, you're new here. We're here to help you. It's underexposed, right? So the camera is forcing the white of the ice and the white of the boards down because it thinks that it would be overexposing. You need to tell the camera, no, I'm shooting hockey. Things are going to be really white, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is this is a ridiculous crop like this. It looks like by 10, but I don't know why you chose 8 by 10 because you have empty space along, you know, a lot of it. Those stairs and the railing is empty. The boards where that ad is cut off, and then you have the ref on the other side. So, you know, if you're going to make a weird crop, it should have been square to get most of that stuff out of there. All of that is beside the point because it's also not straight. You want the ice to be level, and your ice is, you know, definitely falling down to the left. You can tell that by where the boards are and where the lines are in the background. None of that matters either, right? Because you have two players that are going away from you. One player is covering the other one up. You have no faces. You have no puck. You have cut off limbs. You have cut off sticks. there's nothing that would differentiate this picture from one you took at random 5 seconds later or something pointed at the same space. Like it's that this is just like what would happen if you set your camera up on a tripod and pointed it at the ice and just sat there for the whole game with your finger down and picked one picture out at random. This is what you would get. So what do you do differently? Expose properly, make sure that the edges of your frame match up with the edges of the ice and the backgrounds and the boards. Um, Look for faces, look for where players are coming together, look for impact. They're hitting each other into the boards. You're looking for moments of the game that are worth remembering. This picture where somebody is maybe skating with the puck and somebody is maybe back checking them or something. Not there's no way to tell what's going on here, and so this is not any kind of moment at all. This is not like you're when you put this picture up and when you're asking people to look at it, you're saying, please give me your attention for 5 seconds or 10 seconds or something like that. You have to be able to show them something for the attention that you asked for, and you are not showing them anything here. You're just be like, what the hell? Why is he asking me to look at this picture? It doesn't make any sense at all, for all of the reasons that we just said. So, I hope you get another chance soon. I know hockey season's coming to an end, but whatever you're shooting, look for faces first. You can shoot backs, but there has to be a really good reason for it, and you'll know it when you see it. But this isn't it, right? So hopefully you'll be able to learn from this. I know this is pretty harsh, but this is how we do it here. But I promise you, if you stick with this and if you watch these videos and you listen to the podcast and you incorporate the things that we're saying, even just the ideas of them, you will be on your way to doing this. But this is not a good foundation from which to grow on. So please listen to what we were saying and take that into account.
Okay. So this one is by Scott as well. This is also a shit picture, but let's just kind of break it down a bit more because I just left it to Matt to just tell you all about it. Blah, 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 all the same thing. But when things are basically happening on the other side of the field or the ice, the likelihood of you actually getting a good shot is practically zero. Like it really just is. Because first of all, there's someone else on your side who's got a much better picture of that guy celebrating because they're much closer. In most cases in sports, it's better when they're closer to you, like physically closer to you. It just is. When things are so far away, even if you had a 1000 millimeter f2.8, it will still look like crap. And the reason really being is that I don't know, like it's when you use like a wide angle lens. The cardinal rule is that you have to mostly use it really up close because that creates really a lot of tension, a lot of excitement. Like you're really into that whole kind of like that into the picture in itself. So everything is closer. I mean, there's a lot of kind of wonkiness going on as well because like you're so close and you're using wide angle lens, but it doesn't really matter because you're really into the whole thing. And that obviously cannot be done when you're on the other side of the ice and they're scoring on the other end. And second of all, the guy is not facing you, so you can't really see the face. You can't see an expression. And that's about it. So when there are things happening on the side of the court, other side of the pitch, other side of the ice, whatever it is, on the other side, if you're not shooting for a newspaper where they really need that celebration on the other side, just say fuck it. That wasn't your day. It wasn't like your time to be able to actually shoot a celebration. But as I've actually said, on the podcast, that we started doing this like a bit more kind of situational thinking of like when should you be somewhere to shoot a specific shot. And that's something you really need to learn. Like for instance, like if this, I'm assuming he's celebrating, so it was a goal that made them go up, or made by one goal or two goals, whatever. It could have been a tying goal. I've got no idea. It depends on like the player as well. But like, if you know what the situation was, if it's a tied goal, if it's a tied game, it could basically go either way, right? If it's 1-1, whoever scores the goal winner is going to celebrate. But for instance, if your team A and team B is playing, and team A is down by 2 goals, and then team B is down by 1 goal, where would you go to shoot? The thing is that if team B scores to make the score 2-2, team B is not going to get very happy. Why? Because it's just a tying goal. Team A, on the other hand, if they score the third goal, they'll be much happier than Team B because they just tied the game and that's it. And yet Team A would have actually then gone up by 2 goals, and there'd be more celebration there. Things like that, like it's quite important to know where you have to be to get to basically put yourself in the best chance to shoot an interesting shot. So we'll have to work on that one. Other people are as well. I actually did put up that question and a lot of people answered. And yeah, hopefully when you listen to the next podcast, that it should come out very soon because we haven't recorded. We'll record quite soon. You should be able to actually have a bit more of a deeper understanding of like where you should be to get the shot that you want. So in this case, you weren't. So I'd say fuck it, let them do their celebration thing and just don't even take a picture unless someone gets
Well,
killed. Yes.
well, hold on. I think that the difference, and I don't think Ryu will really disagree with this. It doesn't mean you can't shoot it, right? He could have celebrated towards you. He could have peeled away and just started skating right to you and making a fist and sliding down on the ice or something. You want to be prepared and you want to shoot it. You just have to understand that whatever happens has to be so awesome because of all the things that Ryu was saying, that it doesn't look good when you're this far away. It doesn't look good when the background is that close to what you're shooting, all of those things. So you can still shoot it. You have to just know that when you see a picture like this is one you just throw away. You just say, forget it. Nothing good happened here. But if he had skated towards you, you would have had it. Like, you have to stay ready. You have to be, even if you're not shooting, you have to be ready to shoot. But you also have to know when to throw it away.
Okay, I got 20 minutes. Oh, except for that thing on the left, it's a good picture. I'm fine with this. Whoever it is, Brittany Oliver, and that little
Yeah, it
stampy
looks like
thing.
yeah, it looks like she was shooting through the fence. Well, I'm sure she was shooting through the fence, but it looks like she caught part of the bar of the fence.
That's a shame, huh? But everything else is
Well,
really
I mean,
good,
you
huh?
could just get rid of it, right?
Yeah,
It's not helping any. You could just seriously
crop
just
it.
straight up crop it out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but in
yeah,
that, it's really
yeah,
good.
this is good. I would say that. So the hard thing about barrel racing is that it's the same thing over and over again, and really what you're looking for are just tiny little details where they're entering the turn and looking right at you, or the angle between the horse and the rider and the ground gets really low or something like that. And for me, like, this is good. It's a good idea. The picture's good. All of that is fine. Um, I want a little bit more of, either an angle or a face or something like that. It's like just a little bit too late. And the problem with it is that just because you had done it earlier, like in this one, the legs are in a really of the horse are in a really good position. Like, they're all stretched out like that, and they're not like bunched up and awkward looking. Like, it really looks like the horse is working. Sometimes it can look really awkward. So that's the problem, is that the steps are always going to be different. The angle of entry is always going to be different. And so really what you need to do is work on your timing and your selection after the fact. Did I get the best actual moment of this? Can I see somebody's face? Can I see the effort or whatever? To me, I like how the dirt is coming up. I like the low angle of it. I like that the background is mostly out of focus. I like how the horse's legs are. All of that is good, but it's just that it seems like it's just a little bit too late with the way the horse is turning and that she's already looking away, but they're also not completely going by the barrel. So it's just a little bit too late, I think. But I
I
think that
like
the
it. I
more you
like
do
Brittany.
this,
It's fine. It's good. It's good. Don't worry. Don't let
the
Matt
more
actually make you feel sad or anything. It's a good picture. I mean, like, I could probably nitpick as well, like, but I think an overall thing, really, like, I think you got,
which is why I said at the beginning that it was a good picture. I'm trying to help her get better. And so the point of it is that the more you do this, the more you'll figure out exactly where you need to be, exactly when, you'll start to recognize, okay, the way this horse is coming wide, it looks like they're going to be wide around the barrel. And so I need to recompose a little bit. Like all of those things are experience. And the only way you'll get better at those is continuing to do it and then being really critical on yourself afterwards, which is why I'm doing this right now. There is a better version of this picture, and I'm trying to help you get to it.
I like the fact that she had to like pick dirt off her teeth, and
Yeah.
that's really important. That she was that low, she was that close, and
Yeah.
all you guys like really far from your subject should actually like take heart. This is what you should be doing. You should be really into it. Like you have to also realize that these are horses that is much scarier than like bikes or a football player or whatever. Right? Like this is much 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 more dangerous thing to do. So just to let you know, you gotta get in there and low. Meh. No, it just doesn't do it. Like I think everything is wrong. The competition is wrong. It should be straighter, and if you straighten out, then you're gonna basically lose everything. Um, just like having the feet up, it's a good idea. That'll get you,
Yeah.
Brittany. That's a good idea, but it's poor execution.
Yeah. So I shoot bulls from the back of the chutes. I don't know, maybe one day per rodeo that I go to. And the reason I do that is because good bulls will jump out of the chute and then right away they'll start turning back towards the chute. And then they'll get into a spin and they'll be right there within, I don't know, 5 or 7 feet of where the chute is. Whereas if you try to shoot horses from the back, the pictures end up looking like this because once the horse comes out of the chute, they're gone. Most of them are not going to turn. They're just going to buck straight, either whatever, straight away from you or to one side or the other side. And this is the most that you're going to get. The benefit of shooting wide from behind the chutes on bulls is that you can shoot them only when they turn around and they're looking at you. You can shoot from behind like this, but everything really needs to be perfect. And it's not in this case because, again, it's not straight. You have part of the clown barrel in there. Um, it's a kind of a boring angle. You manage to cut off the tail and the front feet of the bull. Like you really want to make a choice there. Maybe you don't need the tail and maybe you just aim down a little bit lower. But in general, this isn't the right moment for this picture. And like I was saying before with the barrel racing picture, experience will get that. You'll start to feel, okay, this is when I start shooting when, in the spin, I see the bull is spinning and here's where I know that I need to shoot because you want the front more than the back. You can do it, right? I have pictures where the hooves are like, I don't know, less than 2 inches away from the front of my lens and they're kicking off dust right into it or whatever. And that can be a cool picture as far as that goes. But if you're really looking for something that's like engaging to the person who's looking at it, you want to wait until that bull starts spinning and shoot them when they're facing you. And that's why bull riding is good because they'll be there for that. So just not a great moment for this.
And but Brittany, like the previous one you had and this one you had, I think you're going the right direction. Just make sure you keep that creativity flowing. Just think of different angles, and I think you do a really, really good job. I
Yeah,
really
and
want to
and
commend
it's good
someone
that
for someone that actually
it,
is doing something that's a bit different, and it's a very, 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 very good thing. But like
yeah.
Matt said, it
And
will
what's
come
this
with.
what's the same
Hmm?
between these two pictures? The theme between these two pictures is she did what she needed to do to get as close as possible
Yeah,
to what she was shooting. And if you can see this, there's not another photographer even in the frame. So I don't know, who was like officially shooting this or something, but you should be able to see them in the frame at least. Like they should be that close and they're not that close. So uh it's good. Like good things will come when you can get close. You just want to not get kicked,
yeah.
by that bull kicking like that. So be careful.
Maggie, can you just take over for a little bit? I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, so I guess this is not the gym that has the good lights in it. Um, but I would say that you really do need to pick your backgrounds a little bit better. Like there's really, you know, they're on your half of the ring and there's still not enough distance between them and what's going on in the background. and that's a problem. You want, like, best case scenario, the action is going to come right towards you, right to the edge. And you want to be in a situation where when that happens, you'll be able to get a really nice clean shot of the action and the background will start to blur out. Well, here they can't really get that much closer to you, right? Couple feet maybe. That's not going to make any difference at all
It's
to the
2.8
background.
though.
Yeah. So it's just
It's too far.
yeah, it's 70. If it was at 200 or something, you might have, a little bit better luck. But at 70, the depth of field is not going to be there, and
Mm-mm.
it's going to end up looking like this. So you have bad lighting. The moment is fine. It's not, I like how he's looking at you, but it's not enough to carry the picture.
No.
And then the background just kind of kills it. So yeah, I don't know. I would really start thinking about lighting these things. It really, you can get away with not really all that much money. You can buy those Amazon triggers, and you can get a couple speed lights, or maybe three of them, to really cover all your bases. And they don't even have to be like, the top of the line ones. They can be, just dumb flashes or whatever. You just go there a little bit early, set them up on stands, do some exposure tests or whatever, and then you're set. You don't have to worry about the background at all. You don't have to worry about the off color. You can make it look as dramatic as you want to. I would not do this. I would not, other than like for practice or something like that. I would not be shooting under these situations without strobes. I just wouldn't do it.
Mm, this like someone said blah blah blah. I'm shooting a picture of people running with monolight blah blah blah.
You don't like this one?
Mm, I don't really care for it, you know.
The only thing I would say, right? So Mark is more of he works with light a lot more. He's not like a sports photographer. He does like portraits and active stuff and weddings and things like that. So for him, like the lighting and whatever is most of the battle. And what I would say to that is, I think this is fine, right? The lighting is cool. I think that the blue sky and the clouds or whatever in the background are cool, and the trees. I like all of that. But if you're gonna do a picture like this, I would coordinate the outfits, because it just looks random when it's like this. Like you wouldn't see this as an ad for Adidas or something like that. This looks like like just a better version of the guy who stands beside for running. So what I would say is, if you're going through the trouble of coordinating all of this, then I would coordinate the outfits a little bit more. Maybe the same color, maybe having the same shoes on or something like that. But as far as like the moment, and as far as the depth of the picture and the lighting and whatever, I like all of that. I guess a lot more than Rita does.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. So for me, it's just like it's like a if you want to make an advertisement picture, I think it's on the right track. There are things like the woman in the front is not really doing her thing because she's away from the thing. Her face, you can't see her face, and the colors are weird. And I just
It's
don't
definitely
find it
been
really
worked on.
interesting. Like
The
it's
colors are weird because he had to bring down the exposure of
right.
the clouds. The clouds were probably all completely blown out. So that will definitely happen in a situation like that. It's not distracting to me because the trees are already up there. Like the clouds aren't the number one thing in the background for me. The trees are, and so the rest of it doesn't bother me.
But the thing is, like, we've actually seen this kind of photos from Nike or Adidas and all these things, like this kind of set shots, and they do a much
Yeah.
better job of actually doing it. So if you want to actually do this right, I would look at all the Nike and Adidas stuff and see like what they actually do well, you know, and just kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah,
Um,
I can say, like, for a good example of like something concrete that you would be looking for. there would never be that weed that's on the woman in the front's leg. Like that would never happen. Either they would manicure that grass that was in the front and like get rid of those plants that are off color or whatever. They would either make all of that uniform, the production stylist or whatever would do all of that, or I don't know what they're exactly called, but they would have somebody there with a camera, and they would be testing it out to see what you could see and what you couldn't see. And they just would not have those weeds covering up their legs and those other off-color plants in there. So those are the kind of things. That's where if you're doing this for like the best possible example of a picture that could be used for an ad or something like that, those kind of really small details will be the difference between somebody looking at your pictures and somebody saying, oh, they just don't have the attention to detail that we're looking for.
And I think the same goes over here. It's just like a lesser version of the advertisement that I've seen in the past. And it's fine that you're using a light, but the thing is like you also kind of have to adhere to the notion of sports and sports being exciting. And just so you can actually use a light to light the person up or the athlete up, doesn't necessarily mean like that then actually becomes interesting all of a sudden. I think from the first one as well and the second one, I think the composition is very, very, very boring. You've seen it before, I've seen it before, everyone has seen it before. And I need you to think a bit more out of the box if you want to do this type of shot, because as it stands right now, there really isn't anything special. And
Yeah, I think that the two women running are better than this one
yeah,
by
but
a
that's also
lot.
like I've seen that as well. There's nothing
Yeah,
really
right.
special,
But I'm not like trying to pump up the other picture. I'm just saying like this one is further away from what we're looking for here. Look at that. There's like some wildflowers and some twigs or whatever in the bottom middle of the picture, and look at how many pixels are being used for that, and then look at how many pixels are being used for the actual guy and the bike. Right, it's more or less the same. Right, and that's not good. You need to pick, like, I understand you go there and you're like, okay, where are like the really cool jumps and where are the action shots, and maybe you ride around yourself and you look at it. When you're doing that and you're selecting where to shoot, again, you need to think about, am I really going to go to the effort of raking the dirt and moving these twigs out of the way, and picking up a stray water bottle that might be out there or something like that? Or are you going to do the work afterwards to Photoshop all of that stuff to be way more uniformed? But you have to do one of those two things, right? You cannot have things that are this distracting in the frame because really your brain is going to see those two shapes equally. For me, I see those twigs and the guy on the bike at the same time. You don't want that. You want there to be no mistake whatsoever what you're taking a picture of and what you want people to look at. And having things like, not having the grass completely covering the dirt in the bottom of the frame, and then those twigs, it's not, yeah, you're sucking the energy and the excitement out of the picture by having a bunch of things in there that are distracting.
So it's Simon again, and he's done the rugby, but it's the same thing. Like if you're gonna do a silhouette thing, like you have to like let it go all the way. And this is a bit of like a half-ass approach into the whole thing, that the sun is partially hitting him, but you want to like not lose the details, so you kind of like try to get rid of the shadows, but then it becomes a really boring photo, and that's really it. So it's either you
Yeah.
go all in or you look at it. Like if you go all in, if it looks good, that's fine. If you don't and you look at it as just a picture, I think this is not a very good picture at all.
Yeah. If you're trying to turn this into a picture that people will stop and look at, and people will recognize, oh yeah, he knows what he's doing, he did a good job, you want to leave only what's absolutely necessary in here, right? And I think maybe what happened here is that the light coming off of his forehead is just because of the angle. and the side or whatever, it's bless you. That part of it is significantly brighter than the light that's hitting. Like look at his forehead and his nose. You can definitely tell that's like I don't know a couple stops at least brighter than the light that's on his arm and the side of his face, right? So I think that might have been really the problem because you could drop the exposure on this significantly, but really at some point you're not going to get the outline of his face. You're going to lose the detail in his face long before you lose long before you lose the detail in his nose and his forehead. So I think that's what the problem is here. You got unlucky by the positioning and the shape of this guy's head. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, because I don't think you could actually make this any better, really. And it's not a very good photo to start with. So no matter like how much sauce you put on it, it's not gonna really become a good picture all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
Yeah, you would want to be looking for like something that would help you would be if his head was tilted back a little bit so that there was more um
Oh, sorry.
yeah. If his head was tilted back a little bit so that the light on his all of his face was more uniform, that's when you can go in there and start dropping the exposure and just getting the outlines or whatever. But
Yeah.
when it's on his forehead like that because of the slope of his forehead and the slope of his nose, that ends up being too bright. The more you lower the exposure on everything else, all you're going to do is make that properly exposed and everything else black. So you're probably just screwed on this one.
Alicia, and this is the not so good version of a barrel racing. So, Alicia, I think you should look at Brittany's photo and think, okay, if she can get into the dirt and have her face covered in mud, so can I. It's basically what's all I can say.
Yeah, this is actually like a really good one-to-one of the progression of what you need to do. It wasn't all that long ago that this is what Britney's barrel racing pictures look like. Um, so maybe it just takes opening of eyes and opening of minds a little bit. I'm going to say a couple things about shooting barrel races like this. Um, I'm not telling you not to do it, but really the deck is stacked against you right here, right? You're in it's covered. There's a roof. Like you can see those things in the background are what's holding the roof up, right? So a lot of barrel races take place in situations like this where it's covered, right? So you can still do everything in the rain, but there's also just daylight that's coming in and there's only like some fluorescent lights or something like that. So that's why we're looking at this in black and white because the color of the sun is much different than the color of those fluorescent lights that are in there and the differential between how bright it is outside and how bright the light is on the inside is also not working in her favor. So that's a problem. But then you look at this and you have again you have those supports in the background that aren't really helping the picture and you have the tractor in the background. I always wonder, like, I don't shoot just barrel races like this where they leave the tractor in there, but I would definitely ask somebody like, can you at least just move the tractor out of the way somewhere so it's not in every single picture? But like I said, I don't shoot these. Um, in general, like whatever, it's fine. You froze the action, but it's boring. You're too far away, and you need to figure out if this is the situation you're going to find yourself shooting in most of the time, this is not going to work. You're just going to get tired of converting everything to black and white because of the dynamic range problem and the color problem, right? It's just going to happen all the time. It's never going to go away. I know people who shoot in very remote places and this is the best that it's ever going to get. At that point, you have to say, if this is what I want to do, if this is what I want to shoot, and I'm going to shoot in these places, I have to change the game. And the game means strobes. Like, just like we were telling Scott a couple pictures ago about if he's going to be shooting in gyms like that, and that's going to be the light and the backgrounds and all of that, you need to change the game. And you could, with a couple speed lights set up here, just neutralize the light in the back, neutralize the tractor, and just make the background either very dark or black. Get some interesting lights, get some interesting angles, and you'll be in business. But if this is what you're going to do, you're just going to go and stand up and shoot through the fence from pretty far away and not really worry too much about what's in the background and not worry about the exposure and the color because you're just going to put it into black and white afterwards. This is fine. This is about the best you're going to be able to do in that case. But that's not good enough, I don't think, for you. Certainly not good enough for us. So I want to see you changing at least something before we see these pictures again. I don't want to see another picture like this. I either want to see you going for it compositionally and saying, okay, we're just practicing here. And when we get to a situation with better lights or when I can afford to have strobes or learn how to set them up or something like that, then we'll do that. But, either show me that you're thinking and can do something on the road to making better pictures overall by getting, maybe the artistic elements right, or just cut to the lighting part and go set some strobes up somewhere and make better pictures than this because nobody's going to want to look at these pictures for very long because they're just going to look the same. You can't, there's no, there's nothing. It's just, even the black and white conversion is not super exciting because of again, the dynamic range that you have to work with.
It's a boring photo. It just is. Yeah. Like, you have to do a better job. That's how it goes. Okay, so yeah, and apparently it's her home arena, so that she can get better access to this.
Yeah,
she can. And if you choose not to, that's your fault.
I don't know if it's her arena or just the one that she goes to the most, but it doesn't matter. You need to be asked to be closer to it and asked for them to move the tractor somewhere else.
That's the last one, and I've seen this before.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's like this happens a bunch during these games. It's not impactful or anything. Like it's okay, so his leg is on the guy's back. That's fine. They're both covering up their faces with their arms to a certain extent, and they're not facing you, and the background, the ad boards or whatever aren't really helping either. So yeah, I mean, it's you froze the action. There's nothing distracting, going on behind them other than those signs, but it's not enough of a moment to really, I mean, I don't know. Would you ask somebody for their attention to look at this picture specifically? I wouldn't.
Yeah, but it's one of those like pictures you see on newspapers, and it's for the whatever.
It can be in a newspaper.
Thing, Yeah,
it can be. We're not saying that, but that's not the bar that we're shooting for here.
Definitely not. And that ends the revamped version of, not really technically revamped version of Training Ground. This is part of the BigLensFastShutter.com conglomerate. If you're interested in actually seeing a bit more of what we do, please visit BigLensFastShutter.com. If you want to join Training Ground, you can always go to Facebook and look for Big Lens Fast Shutter. You can always then also go to Flickr and search for Big Lens Fast Shutter, and you'll be able to find our group page, and there you can join the monthly Training Ground. It's free. You can enter. You can do whatever you want. And if you think we've actually done a very, very good job, and you want to give us money, please go to patreon.com/BLFS, and that is patreon.com/BLFS. Thank you for listening. We shall see you next month, and that is it.